Hello Year 4 and welcome to Free Writing Friday! Woohoo! Okay, so it's a Friday and it's Free Writing Friday. It is Friday the 15th of January and we are going to dive back into some free writing. That's where you take control, you take ownership and you look to grow yourself and your enjoyment of writing. Okay, so let's take a look at what we are going to be writing about today. There we go. Right. So we know that our free writing is all about our opportunity as a writer to write what we would like to do. So often as teachers, we tell you what to write, or we give you a video to write about, or we look at a book and we write about that. But actually, it's really good as a writer to be able to develop your own ideas and to take the reins, take the lead, and to develop your own confidence and identity as a writer. So our learning objective simply for today is to develop ideas, so that thinking, saying and writing process of all of our ideas, and also to build our confidence as a writer. Okay, we're all at different stages with writing. Some of us feel really confident, some of us don't feel so confident, but hopefully as we practice and have a go at these Free Writing Fridays, you will build your ideas and confidence. So first of all, we're going to be building ideas. That's why I've got a picture of some bricks there. We're going to build them up step by step, one by one, until we can decide on a really good story idea based on our picture. Step 2 is to generate vocabulary. Okay, so that's that lovely bit where we think about all the kinds of words that we might associate with the things that we can see in our picture. And step 3 is just to simply get writing and just to go for it and to get those words and ideas down on the page. Okay, let's now take a look at our image. Okay, so this is a rather spectacular one. As soon as I saw this picture, I knew this had to be the choice for this week. Okay, it's just so amazing. I just want you to take a moment before we even read through the text for you to just have a good look. Okay, so do that now with me. Just take a really good look. And then I'm going to talk to you about the things that I can see, and I wonder if you have spotted them as well. Okay, well, let's start talking about what we can see then, shall we? You might even want to just pause before you listen to what I found and discuss it with a grown-up or somebody else at home and just see what you can spot. It's amazing. The more closely you look, the more you see. Okay, so what can we see here? Well, the first thing that I noticed was the sky, beautiful sky, sort of an orangey blue here. So it makes me think, especially because there are lights on in the building, that this is happening on a summer's evening. Okay, so where people are probably maybe making their way home from work, maybe people are in their houses having their dinners. It's that time when the sun is setting. So maybe there's a sunset in the distance. We notice we can see that we are in a town or a city here. We can see rooftops and windows with lights on. We can see a stairwell leading down here. We can see this big white building and drain pipes. Here, a flock of birds is flying up in the background. And then, of course, we notice the main part of our picture here, which is our enormous robot here. So interesting that there's something in his hand I'm noticing. Maybe it looks a little bit like a street lamp, doesn't it? Like he's ripped it out from the pavement as a street lamp. You can see you've got a big metal chest here and these thick legs. And there's a yellow number here, 28. He's a robot. I wonder if that's his name. Maybe he's Robot 28, for example. And this helmet reminds me of a Roman centurion's helmet. That shape there, curving over. And I don't know if you can notice, I'm not sure if this is a reflection of the helmet or whether actually that's his eye there. I'm not sure, I can't quite tell, but with a writer, we can make it whatever we want it to be. Okay, so just want you to picture this scene now. We've spotted a few things. Okay, we've got what looks to be a large robot. And so I'll share my thinking with you now and share that thought process so you can start thinking of your own ideas. Now, to me, this robot looks quite imposing. Looks like a really big figure. He obviously wouldn't normally be there because we don't normally have robots wandering around our streets. So he's obviously there for a reason and a purpose. Maybe he's on some sort of mission. Maybe he's got to go and find somebody. Maybe he's got to go and rescue somebody. Maybe he is trying to stop some kind of evil plan from happening. Who knows? You get thinking on that one. And let's see. That street lamp in his hand makes me think that he is perhaps feeling aggressive, or maybe he is having to move things out of his way to get around things, or maybe it's actually going to end up being a weapon or something that he can use maybe to smash some windows in, or something like that. So yeah, get thinking on that. You might have a different impression. You might think actually this robot is, instead of being a villain or being used for sort of a bad purpose, maybe this robot actually is going on a bit of a rescue mission. Maybe he's going to be saving people. Maybe there's some people in danger somewhere. Maybe they are trapped on a rooftop somewhere and they need to escape, and that isn't going to be a weapon, but the street lamp is actually going to be something to help those people with. So you can see already that there's so many different ideas that we can come up with for a story here. Okay, now then, let's go and have a look and a read through our starter of our story. You can use this, or you might like to use your own idea, but here is a starter that you might be able to run with and continue on in your own story. Okay, let's read through then. Thump, thump, thump. His footsteps thundered down the road, causing passers-by to stare in amazement, dogs to howl in backyards, and alarmed old ladies to peer out of their bedroom windows, wearing petrified looks on their faces. His legs were as long as oak trees. His torso, that's the middle part of him, his torso was as wide as a house, and his fists were as heavy as tractors. This metallic monster meant business. Number 28, checking in, over. He spoke into the radio set built into his helmet. His instructions crackled back through the earpiece. He knew what he had to do. So from that story opening, which you might like to use, it seems like he's on a mission. And if he's this metallic monster, goodness knows what he's got to go and do. Okay, so start thinking, what could his mission be? Okay, what is that all about? And then let's start to build some ideas as we move into step number 1. Okay, you saw this slide last week, so this is what we'll look at first. The first thing you have to do is just think and talk your ideas through. Okay, and the really good idea as a writer is to come up with lots and lots of different ideas. Okay, because when you do that, it helps you to think of all the possibilities, and then it will help your brain to arrive at the best idea, the idea that you really, really like the best. So I have shown you here before that there are lots of ways that you can actually record the key events of this story. So that's what I'd like you to build on. And we're saying building ideas, we're building a plot, we're building what's going to happen. All right, so you could record this as a story mountain. Okay, where we break it into sections. You may like to record this as a storyboard. Okay, where you draw out the pictures, you draw out the scene, what the robot's going to do. Remember, it doesn't have to be brilliant illustrations. If you're like Mrs. Fowler, you can use a stick person to represent your robot. That's absolutely fine. Okay, and then you just jot notes underneath of what's happening. Or you can do a text map, a little bit like we looked at before when we were doing our dragon instructions, where we just draw a little symbol. It's very similar to these ideas. We're still coming up with the flow and the order of our events, but instead we're drawing little symbols and icons to show what happens. Okay, so here are some questions for you to think about. Okay, and then I'd like you to pause the video have a good discussion, have a good think about it, and start coming up with an idea of what happens and what that robot's going to do. So, thinking questions then. Where does the robot go? Who or what is he looking for? What's his mission? Is it working for good or for bad? What does the robot look like and sound like and make people feel when it walks past? What does the robot do? And who might the robot talk to and what might they say to each other? So we've already got him on his headset, but does he actually end up talking to some of the people in the city? Okay, pause the video now, have a think, take your time, a good 10 minutes or so to just start talking and thinking and mapping out ideas. Okay, is your robot going to go and rescue somebody? Is your robot going to go and grab somebody from their office or from their house and take them off somewhere? They're going to kidnap somebody, okay? Or is your robot going to steal something? Maybe it's not after a person, maybe it's going to steal something, an important or very precious item. Maybe it's going to rob a bank. Maybe it's going to steal the most precious diamond in the world from a jewelry shop. Maybe it's going to take something important like a computer that has plans for an important new design. I'm reading a book at the moment where somebody has stolen the hard drive of a computer because they want to know how to make a solar powered train. So yeah, maybe it's some designs or some plans. You get thinking, pause the video now and develop those ideas in any of the ways that you can see on the screen now. Off we go. Right then, you should have an idea of what you'd like to happen in your story. Of course, that can change at any point because writers might change their mind as they go through their work, and you might be writing something or suddenly have a new idea or a brainwave and you think, I know, and I'll change it, so that's fine. But at least you've got a good idea of what you'd like to happen. Let's move on then to step number 2, generate vocabulary. Okay, now at this stage, if you have a book, what I would suggest doing is that you open up to a double page spread, my favorite, okay, so that on the left-hand side, you can jot down your ideas, and on the right-hand side is there where you do your free writing for today. And you can see an example of this on the top of the slide here. Okay, so ideas on the left, and you can rule them off and organize them in a nice, neat way, and then writing on the right-hand side here. Now, I think with vocabulary, we need to consider the setting and also the character here in order for us to generate some really good ideas for words that we could use. Okay, so we're going to be using our symbols here, but I'm only going to choose a few. I'm not going to write ideas for all of these. You might choose the same symbols as me, or you might choose others. It's entirely up to you. Okay, but we're going to use our symbols and we're going to be writing our ideas down next to them. Okay, I'm just going to show you this next slide before we come back to the board, and I'll show you the process of writing down your ideas. So on this slide here, I've already put down some words that you might find helpful. I've got some words over here to describe settings. Not all of them will be appropriate, but you need to pick and choose the ones that you think will be helpful for you. I picked out some size words that might be appropriate for the size of this robot. And I also just started thinking of ideas about his suit. It's shiny, it's gleaming, it's metallic. His eyes glowing bright, illuminated. Thinking about his feet and thinking about comparisons, similes, the size of a bus, deafening stomps causing destruction. And in fact, as I was thinking of these ideas, this robot character reminded me of the Gorm a little bit, because they're covered in metal and they stomp around and they cause people fear and panic. So you might want to magpie some of the ideas about the Gorm even from our Reading for Pleasure and Podkin. Okay, let's come back together then, and I'll model the process of how to record some of your ideas. Brilliant, there we go. Okay, so you can see that I have put setting on one side, okay, and I've put character on the next. I'm going to separate my vocabulary into those two sections. Okay, and I've decided first of all that actually I want to describe what my setting looks like. Okay, so I've drawn the face with the eyes, what it looks like. I'm also going to include description about the sound. Okay, the sound of maybe the birds flying off as they're being frightened away, the sound of maybe the cars or the city, the sound of the feet stomping on the pavement, and also the feeling of fear and panic that this robot is creating as it marches through the streets. And then here, the character, the robot itself. Okay, so I've drawn again that the eyes, the looking, so what the robot looks like. Again, what the robot sounds like. Okay, and again, down here, slightly different symbol this time. It's a bit of dialogue. I think in this story, I'm going to show that I can use speech punctuation. I think actually my robot is already spoken in that little story starter that you've been given. I think it's also going to have another conversation with some other character, perhaps. Okay, maybe even in your story, it might have a standoff with a police car. Maybe a police car turns up and your robot has a conversation with them. Move out of the way, or I'll be forced to fire, or something like that. Let's see where our ideas take us. So our setting here, what can we see in our setting? Okay, so you can jot down just words that you can see. So I can see rooftops, and I can see the robot in there. I can see birds flying, scattering through the sky. And I think I'm going to start with that idea here. I'm not writing full sentences, just little words or phrases. So I'm going to see birds scattering across the sky. Okay, talking of the sky, actually, it was that sort of orangey blue sunset, wasn't it? So orangey blue with wispy, maybe wispy clouds. So I'm going to put sunset, sunset of maybe burnt orange. Okay, I'm going to put wispy clouds. I'm just thinking how to spell that. Don't think it's a WH. I think I'm just going to see wispy, or is it WH? I think it's the first one, but I can always go and check back in a minute. When you're writing down your ideas, try and spell things correctly. But if you're not sure, just put it down anyway. Better to have it than not, and then you can check back later. Okay, so wispy clouds. I can see rooftops. Fantastic. I'm just going to think about anything else that I talked about earlier that I wanted to mention. I think I'm okay. Okay, so I'm going to move on to the next one here with the ear, the sounds that I can hear. So obviously there's a massive great robot walking through the streets. So I think we can probably imagine people crying out, people gasping. So maybe we've got people gasped in horror. Shouts. People shouted to one another. And you can get a bit creative. Maybe there's a sound of babies crying, or children crying. Maybe there's the screech of cars slamming on their brakes. Cars slammed on their brakes. Okay, fantastic. And then the feeling, okay, the feelings. And this could be also perhaps a little bit of the physical feeling. So maybe the ground trembled. Maybe people had a look of panic. I would imagine if that happened that your heart would be racing, the blood would be pumping really quickly. Hearts thumped in chests. And actually, I'm going to magpie an idea from Podkin, actually. If you remember when, I think it was when the Gorm first entered the Longborough at Munbury, the book was talking about the fact that Podkin held his breath. So that he held, often when there's something frightening happening, you end up, sometimes without realising it, holding your breath. So let's see, so breath, hearts thumped in chests, people held their breath. And maybe actually what we can see is people ran to safety. Fantastic. Brilliant. Right, so some quick ideas on that one. Okay, what I'd like you to do now you've got this idea of your setting, you can magpie my ideas, you can build your own. Have a look at the slides that I put up with those other ideas for vocabulary, and then pause the video now to fill in your setting side. Off you go. Right, we're back again. Here we go. We've had a go at filling in our setting ideas. We're now going to have a go at our character ideas. So I'm going to try to go through this nice and quickly so we can really concentrate then on setting you up for your writing task. Having said that, it's really good to make sure you're really sure, first of all, on your plots, and second of all, on your vocabulary, so that when you come to writing your ideas down, you're not making it up as you go along. You know, you've put in the time and effort into your planning and your vocabulary, so you know exactly what you're going to be doing or thereabouts. Okay, so in our character, we have a giant robot. Okay, I'm just imagining it's going to be taller than the rooftops. So I'm actually going to put this taller. Oh no, I've got even better. Towered. It towered over the rooftops. That's even better. Towered. Let me write that down. Over the rooftops. Okay, towered over the rooftops. And what have we got here? It was colossal. A colossal machine. We can see metallic. It's metallic. Metallic body. Gleamed. Gleamed in the light of windows. Metallic body gleamed in the light from windows. From windows, that sounds better, doesn't it? In the light from the windows. Fantastic. Okay. Lots of other words that you could use to build on from there, but that's a really good starting point. Now then, just thinking about it, I think I'm going to change this idea. I think I've already got some of the sounds. Okay. And I think we can include this idea of stomp, the stomping. Of, could go for metallic again, metallic feet. I could come back and change that because I know I've got it twice, but let's just go for that. I actually was thinking, whilst I was writing out my ideas, like I said, sometimes you change your ideas, change your mind. I'm thinking about actions actually. So I'm going to draw out a pair of feet, and this is our action symbol. So what is the robot going to do? Okay, so I'm just going to jot down some thoughts. So stomped. I could have all marched. That could work quite nicely. He might turn his head, or might search. Oh, lovely. So he might actually rip up. Stomped, marched, ripped up. Street lamps. Maybe he shattered windows. Okay, maybe he grabbed. He could either be grabbing people or grabbing something. So he grabbed. I can leave grab. I can leave that there because I can decide as I'm writing what he might be grabbing. He grabbed, and let's have a think what else he could be doing. Maybe his feet broke up the pavement. Okay, so he demolished. Oh, that's a good word, isn't it? So demolished. Pavements. Okay, now I'm going to build in a bit of tension here with my character, because I think actually my robot is going to go and steal something. Maybe he's got to go and steal something precious. So it's got to come face to face with somebody, maybe some kind of security guard who's protecting it. So let's see, he's got to speak something or say something to this character. Maybe he's going to say, give it up. Or maybe he's going to say, hand it over. Or maybe he's going to say, you have no choice. So yeah, let's think of some ideas. And I'm going to write these with speech marks so I remember to use them in my writing. So you have no choice. There we go. Maybe I'm going to have the idea of there is no escape. Okay, I might even jot down some of the speech that my character might make. Maybe I'll never surrender, or you will never have it. I'll never surrender it to you. Okay, and then another little idea we can put down here is maybe some other words for said. So we might have demanded, the robot might demand, demanded. We might have stammered. Again, that's a word from our guided reading, isn't it? From Podkin, stammered when Paz is faced with the Gorm and she's trying to lure them into a trap. She stammers when she speaks to them because she's nervous, so we can have stammered. We might have screamed, or maybe even shrieked. And then you've got the ideas for your speech here, and then you can decide which of these said verbs you're going to use as well. So we've got lots of ideas. Well, I can see, can't quite see that one at the bottom. There we go. Okay, we've built up a really good word bank here. Let's go back to our slides now. It's your turn. Fill in your character ideas just like I have. Of course, you can magpie as much as you like, but really try to develop your own thoughts and ideas and take ownership as you're going to be writing. Pause the video to do that and then come back and we'll set you off on your writing challenge. Off you go. Right then, let's move on, shall we? You've done all the hard work. You've thought about the plot, the events that are happening. You've jotted down your thoughts and ideas for vocabulary. Now it's just time to get writing. Okay, so I'll leave you to read this through yourselves. Okay, that can be your starting point. Remember, you can use all of it exactly as it is. You can copy it out completely, and then you can carry on the writing with your own ideas that you have. You might like to copy parts of it, but add in your own innovations, your own vocabulary, and your own ideas. Okay, it's absolutely fine. Or you might like to change quite a lot of it, okay, because your story has a different plot, or perhaps your robot isn't perhaps quite so aggressive and he's not on a sort of mission to destroy something. You've actually got a completely different idea, which is absolutely fine. All right, so it's now time for you to get writing. Enough from me, over to you. You've got your starter there to use as you wish. Enjoy it, go for it, let your ideas flow, and just see where your writing takes you. And I look forward to hearing it in the Zoom and also those that send it in on the email. When you've finished your writing, give yourself a pat on the back and then come back and we'll do a quick little reflection. All right. Okay, pause the video and get going. Oh, just before you do, there's lots of helpful things that you might find will be of use when you are writing underneath this video. So you'll see there's some word banks I've put up and some helpful things that you might want to refer to when you're writing. So do have a look underneath here as well. Right, now you can go, I promise. Well done, you four. Oh, super job. So Free Writing Friday finished. Have a think about how you got on today. I'm really keen for you to think about how you're developing as a writer. Do you think actually that it's becoming a bit easier to develop ideas, or do you think actually the ideas that you're developing are getting better, they're better quality? How confident are you feeling? Okay, are you feeling a bit more positive about getting your ideas on the page? Or maybe you already felt like that, but you feel like now actually you're putting better quality ideas on the page and you're confident, more confident in your ideas. So have a think, how did you get on today? Think about what you're proud of and what perhaps you'd like to improve for next time. Okay, you might like to take the chance to edit your work or to publish it, to present it in some way, read it out loud to people at home, read it out loud in the Zoom. Okay, you might even want to, if you've got a computer, type it up even, no problem with word processing, entirely up to you. All right, hope you've enjoyed today's session. Okay, and I hope you are excited to continue your writing journey into next week and the next few weeks. Okay, so take care, make sure you share your work, and we'll see you next week.